world. It's your guy, Nicholas Wilcox. Alongside my guy is the one and only, the man as well, Johnny Main. Johnny, say what's up to the great people.
What it do? What it do? What it do? Week 7 coming up on us right here in a few hours, man. And before we even get started, I just got to say one thing. Rocky Top, Tennessee, you'll always be home sweet home to me. Big win last night, baby. Feeling good. Feeling good, man.
I'm sure you are. I bet those Longhorn fans ain't.
No. Actually, I know one, man. I can't it's funny. I know a guy, man, and I see him like at school and stuff for my kids and the YMCA and stuff. And man, he is going to be shitting on them boys bad when I see him. I told him, I said, SEC is different, baby. It's different. It is different.
Very different. Look, man, talked about it before. Like Longhorns have not been great since they even entered the SEC. So I haven't watched a ton of college football this year, but it's like I already knew like it just wasn't it.
Texas, they're a good football team, man, but it's the difference between being good and being elite, man. And in the SEC, you got to be elite. And Texas is a really good football team. They can they beat some SEC powerhouses? Obviously, if you play 100 times, anything can happen. But it's just different, man. They've been on a whole different recruiting scale, man. In my opinion, than a lot of the SEC schools. I think maybe in the next 2 to 3 years, I think like it'll make a lot more sense. And then you got little Manning waiting in the background, so should be interesting. But nonetheless,
is right because we are moving into the 7 fantasy football show. Where we got your picks, your props, your DFS, your bets, and you guessed it, your starts and sits questions for those last minute starts and sits questions. This is the time to start dropping those below. We got a lot to get to when it comes to a game by game basis, so we are going to get right into it. So just want to give quickly shout outs in regards to week 6 last week, because tell you what, like had a really decent bounce back week last week for the prop show. We are 37-28 on the year in Nick's prop shop. Looking a lot better than we were last week. We were only 3 games up above 500 last week, and I'm happy to say that we had a great bounce back last week. Week 6 record for the props was 10-4. Looking forward to bringing the heat once again, as I got a few bags up my sleeve, and we'll get to that later on. Without further ado, we're going to jump right into these games here. We're starting to a game that feels a little lopsided already. Going on the road to Buffalo. Tight ends are getting +9 on the road. The over-under is 40.5. In terms of this game, Mason Rudolph is starting for this game instead of Will Levis. Apparently still dealing with that injury, but we all know what it really is. Buffalo, Amari Cooper's first appearance, he is playing today for this matchup. Shakir is going to be playing this game as well. So, Johnny, are you excited about the Buffalo side here? Excited about the Amari Cooper addition for Buffalo? What does that do for them long-term, out-term? And does Tennessee have any shot in this game?
Well, I'm excited about Josh Allen and Amari Cooper on the DFS side of things. Like, both of those guys are practically going unowned. Titans have actually been really good on defense this year, man. They've actually been like better than pretty good, actually. So today I'm playing 24 lineups, 25 lineups. And I've got a couple of Josh Allen, Amari Cooper stacks, maybe like 3 or 4 I think I got in there. On DraftKings, like I'm especially interested in Mace Rudolph in a couple of situations. I'm playing him maybe like 2 or 3 lineups as well. Reason why is obviously he's like 4,700 on this. And if you think that the Bills are going to be up, then obviously that now creates a game script for the Titans where they're going to have to throw the ball, which is what they've wanted to do all season long. The Bills, Bills have been a little bit vulnerable against the run this year as well. So I like it. I'm starting Mason Rudolph in a super flex league that I'm in with you, sir. Mace, he's back. I'm gonna for me. The other thing that's kind of tricky for me, again, talking about it last week, this is the largest spread on the game with the Titans the Bills. Well, yeah, the Titans +9. So this is the biggest number on the slate right here. So I think like it could get interesting. Yeah. And I will say this. I know, go ahead and kill me now for it. This is the week to go back to Calvin Ridley. Obviously they make this change. You touched on it, man. Like, Will Levis dealing with the injury. I can tell you exactly what it should be classified as is bruised ego, as one of my coaches would say. And another coach that I used to loser's limp. That's what he has going on right now. So I think like Mason Rudolph obviously understands the assignment, and the assignment is to get Calvin Ridley the ball, especially after you've seen the interview that he had last week after the game. Squeaky Will gets the grease, and I'm going back to Calvin Ridley in a DFS setting and in season long as well.
Man, I'm glad you brought Ridley up because I don't feel as strong right now. I thought last week would have just been the nice spot, the bounce back spot for Ridley. I just don't like this spot for him. Going against Christian Bedford, one of the best corners in the game right now. I don't know. This is a spot in both DFS and season long where I may just have to shy away, only because I think Mason's going to be looking to check down the ball a little bit more than anything else, and just looking to be a little bit more efficient with the ball if anything else. Ridley can get Ridley only takes one play. Obviously, we always talk about it's always one play. You know what I'm saying? And it's all of a sudden, on a dime, it's like, okay, Ridley had a great day, but it's like you take that one play away, and it's like, he had a shaky overall thing, he had a lucky play. 5,500 on DraftKings, it's somewhere for a GPP's only big shot. You know what I'm saying? Bigger time, the Millie Maker or whatever, because it's just season long, I'm having a few leagues and I'm already I'm not exactly in a pinch where I have to start them. So if I don't have to start them, I'm not going to. Again, just the Buffalo Bills defense is, their back end has been pretty solid, honestly, for the most part. So it's just one of those matchups I want to steer away from. As far as this game goes in general, 9 points is a lot in the NFL. In general, 9 points is a lot in the NFL. So going on that, does Tennessee have a chance? I think it's any given Sunday all the time, right? I would say Buffalo's going to win this game. The over is going to be interesting if Tennessee can find any way to make this game interesting, because I think if they can make this game any type of interesting, this has an opportunity to go over. I'm trying to look at the team total for Tennessee right now because, again, we talked about it. I think Tennessee has an okay squad. It's just more about do we
team
really
total for Tennessee is 16, man, and 25 for Buffalo.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. I was actually thinking 14.5 or 17, something like that. So I think if I had any way to get in the end zone a couple of times, this game is definitely going over. So I think that if I was just going to take this game alone, I would probably just take the points for Tennessee. But I do expect Buffalo to win. I'm just having a hard time. I'm just having a hard time where if Buffalo is if there's a way they're gonna cover this, how they're gonna cover it. And that's where I think Tennessee's defense can kind of keep them in the game long enough so that where if they are scoring a few touchdowns, let's just say they get a touchdown and a field goal in the first half, this has an opportunity definitely at the over. Next game, more of an entertaining game.
Yeah.
You got the Texans and the Packers. Texans come in this game 5-1. They are plus 2.5 on the road, going to Lambeau Field.
I love it.
Over under right now is 40.5 and gone up a point overnight. So it was 47.5. What I say about this game overall is I do expect Green Bay to win this game. I like CJ Stroud. Don't get me wrong. It's more about just no Nico Collins. Green Bay's secondary has been a little bit better over the last couple games. McKinley and overall, Jair Alexander. I think Jair is going to get back to his Pro Bowl status at some point. He has had a shaky-ish start injury wise and stuff like that to start the year and everything, but he's been bouncing back a little bit better. He's better. He's a better graded corner than he has been the last couple of weeks. I just think Green Bay is one of those bend or dope break defenses. I just think that they can hold the Texans as well. The only thing I'll say is that the Houston run game with Joe Mixon gets going. because Green Bay plays a lot of zone coverages and zone schemes. And I think that where a couple weeks ago against Minnesota, it was a game where, they got shredded up by Aaron Jones and also Ty Chandler a little bit. I just think in this game, I think Green Bay is going to take it. I think 2.5 is a little bit disrespectful for the way Jordan Love's been playing lately. I know CJ Stroud's a good guy. It's just more about, again, you beat the bricks off the Patriots, which you should have. I just think they're coming into a matchup in Lambeau Field where this Texans team is really going to get tested. Now, if they win this game, I'm all about the Texans, not only for the winning division, but they can definitely go deep in the playoffs. But what do you say overall to this matchup?
You know I'm a fan of Jordan Love, man. You know I'm a fan. That's my guy, man.
So you're taking the Packers to cover? Cool, perfect.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Nick Wilcox Show.
No.
Oh, God, man.
You stop that right now.
No,
spotlight.
No, man. I think you hit on a lot of really good points, man, because I'm really interested in Joe Mixon this week from a DFS side of things for sure against the Packers.
600, right?
Yeah, I have to go back and check and see. But he's a great play, man, for me this week. He is 7,200 actually, and coming in at about 12% owned in the running back spot, man. So I think it just kind of gives you the ability to get a little bit different in an area where Bijan Robinson's a guy that's going to be heavily owned this week as well. At 7,100. So for me, I just think it's a good place to get really different and the eye test, if you will, with Joe Mixon and what he's been doing, when he's been on the field with the Texans, he has been really good. And that was the guy that if you recall, man, I was like, I'm all set with Joe Mixon going into the year, but he looks good. The offenses look good. I think this game definitely has the ability to go over. You got Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. They're going to throw the football. That's just what they're going to do. No questions about it. And then, they have all their guys there for the first time, I think, all year long for the Packers. Christian Watson's healthy. Romeo Doubs is there. Jaden Reed is there. Tucker Kraft, Josh Jacobs. So I'm with you, man. I think this is a great spot for the Packers. This is a great game stack, too, from a DFS side of things. It's a way to get a little bit different, as most people are going to be finding their way either to the Green Bay, Minnesota game or potentially the Atlanta Seattle game. So I think this is just an opportunity to get a little bit different from a DFS perspective of things. The Packers wide receivers aren't heavily owned. And last week, actually, randomly, the guy that won the Millie Maker on DraftKings last week. No stack, just a naked Jordan Love, man. So I like the Packers this week, man, for sure. And I like the over. And Tank Dell, I know you said you like Jair Alexander, man. I like him too. I think he's a great corner for sure. And Green Bay secondary has definitely been playing a little bit better. But it's one of those things, right? You got to pick your poison. And is it going to be that they're going to let CJ Stroud throw the football, or are they going to stack the box against Joe Mixon today? So I'll be interested to see, how the Packers approach that. If I were them, man, hey, man, I would bring the pressure to CJ Stroud and maybe do a little bit of run blitzing as well, just to kind of try to negate that run game. Because I think we know, man, if they can do both, that's when it causes problems. But yeah, man, I'm in on the Packers today, man.
Got it. Makes sense. We're on the same page for sure. I just think the Texans are going to win this game. Jordan Love's Houston defense got to step up here. They have the talent on defense to make sure it happens, but I just think with Green Bay being at home, Love playing as hot as he's coming in, and him having pretty much all his weapons. We were talking about Tuesday where we had to watch the injury reports, but everybody for Green Bay should be playing this one. I think Wicks is still the only one questionable, but they should have all their weapons in this one, and I just think the Packers are going to take care of business. Bengals and Browns. Divisional game that is more interesting for Cincinnati than it is for Cleveland at this point. I think Cleveland, we talk about a team that was already coming into this year, just people were trying to have some expectations for this team, but it's just, again, it's not surprising that they are 1-5. It's not surprising that Watson's been looking like the worst quarterback in the league based on a statistical metric level. Him and Will Levis are neck and neck for that in terms of the trophy for that. Bengals come into this game -5.5 on the road. So they are almost a touchdown favorite on the road going to Cleveland. Cleveland proved, though, defensively that they could shut down a decent team. in the Eagles last week, holding them to only 20 points. So, I mean, look, I mean, it's not that the Browns can't cover that line. Still expect them to really – depends on if they can keep up offensively with Cincinnati. But Cincinnati's also shown their weird, inconsistency, wavering up and down when it comes to this team. Over-under right now is 41.5. Johnny, what do you say about this game?
A lot of things, man. I think it's kind of weird. We're actually on the same page today. I think that's just a testament to the season starting to progress and we're starting to kind of get on the same page with things, man. But I agree with everything you said. I think it's more or less for me for the Bengals. It's not the inconsistency. It's just them playing down to their competition. And I think you see this sometimes with teams in the
20
NFL.
points last week, barely beating the Giants last week.
Playing down to New England earlier on, playing up to Kansas City, playing up to Baltimore. So I think this is definitely a game that, you want to be mindful of, if you're still alive in survivor pools or anything like that right there with the Bengals. I'm not saying the Browns will win this game, but it's just one that you want to be aware of because there's a lot of red flags, right? Like the inconsistencies, the playing up and down, the competition, division game, those type of things, right? Big change, obviously, that just happened inside the locker room with the trade of Amari Cooper. Deshaun Watson, at some point in time, man, Stefanski's, he's going to have to pull the plug at some point in time. Another interesting thing I think that I just want to kind of highlight as well that, I got to in some of my DFS lineups this morning, Devonta Foreman. Cheap running back on DraftKings, I think either 54, 5,200. If you think that the Browns are going to be able to keep this game close or that Cincinnati plays down the competition today, I think he's a very interesting play. For sure, he's a guy that, has traditionally just been overlooked, but this is a spot where the Bengals run defense hasn't exactly set the world on fire. So I'm pretty interested in him from a DFS side of things. And then even if we flip the coin and say, hey, all right, we feel like Cincinnati's going to take care of business. You got the Cincinnati defense. I believe, I don't know if I think there might be 3,600 on DraftKings, but I don't, 3,300. But I think we can all agree that we don't really see the Browns offensively doing a lot of damage today. So if this game is close for the Browns, more likely than not, it's a turnover or special teams play that happened for the Browns to put points on the board. Jamar Chase practically unowned today. Same thing with Joe Burrow and obviously T. Higgins. So if you want to get unique in a GPP setting, you can throw a dart against the wall there for sure. So just again, because there's a lot of people that are going to be going to Jay Jets and Amon-Ra today. So for me overall, man, I'm probably going in on the under on this game right here. Taking the Bengals straight up, but like I said, a lot of red flags for me just overall in this game.
Yeah, it's just Cleveland's just, and then now, Nick Chubb's supposed to come back this week. Does that change their philosophy now? Because look, they came into the year wanting to throw the ball constantly and everything, and now it's all right, well, Nick Chubb's now back. So it's does that philosophy then change because the offensive line has looked really they've been looking so bad. They came into the year as a top 10 offensive line unit.
Yeah.
Injuries though, and just underperforming constantly. So yeah, it's again, I didn't have too much higher expectations for Cleveland, but it was more it was all on Watson, really, and he just looked again, the worst quarterback in football, somehow keeping his job for I don't know how long. So
what I bet? What I bet's probably going on?
What's that?
I said, what I bet's probably going on?
Yep.
Him and Stefanski, man, maybe he might know what's up with Stefanski, man. Stefanski might be getting in with him, man. Maybe that's why he's still up.
Yeah, I don't know.
Man,
I don't know.
He knows where the body's at, man.
I don't know. Going on to a more competitive game. Seattle going on the road to Atlanta. 3-3 for Seattle coming in. They're getting 3 points on the road as an underdog. Falcons 4-2. Over-unders more and more higher on the slate, 50.5 over-under. I can see where this game could easily hit the over. We have two quarterbacks in Cousins and Geno Smith. They're our top 6 right now in both pass attempts. So it's going to be a game where this could be one of those games where defenses aren't playing as hot right now. They're both middle of the pack defensively, statistic-wise. I'm kind of loving the over. I don't want to get too crazy though, honestly. in terms of how both, because this game could go either way, honestly. I think both these teams are pretty similar when you look at them. I think Atlanta has a better offensive line, and I think they have a slightly better defense. But I think Seattle getting 3 points on the road, they've proven that they could definitely score with them as well. Just going back to Detroit a couple weeks ago, so I think that Seattle's another one of those teams that Jekyll and Hyde too, where it's like they perform, they play, but then it's like they don't play. The game against where the Giants were a couple weeks ago, when the Giants came up and whooped up on them, controlled the clock against them. And then, again, just got them out of rhythm so much. So, in terms of this game, what do you say, Johnny?
Man, for me, I'm really feeling the Falcons playmakers in this game. I'm feeling Kyle Pitts. I'm feeling Darnell Mooney.
Ooh,
Drake. Well, I don't want to say alert, right? But I'm not like jumping out in front of everything on it. I do think
that you want a draft day.
And I'm still there, and it's been no worse. He's just been the healthiest guy there. But yeah, man, I think like this game definitely goes over for sure. I think Seattle defensively, man, they've been giving it up big time. Pretty sure they're without a couple of their defensive backs here this week. And then Kirk Cousins, man, this is a prime spot for him. Again, not a primetime game at home against a banged up secondary. I like where this is at. And I think DK Metcalf, after the way he didn't show up on Thursday night, I like him a lot in this game as well. But the player that I really want to talk about, who I actually had as our basically our background player for the day, was going to be Ken Walker. But we got this information about him being sick, not being sick or whatever. And I see somebody just said Charbonnet with 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he wishes, because Carlos sent me some weird trade offer yesterday to, getting Bijan and Debo away from me, trying to play that Walker's going to be out, whatever. He's questionable illness, got downgraded, whatever.
Yeah,
he's going to be a bunch of Charmin today.
Soft. But yeah, I think that's a player that he's been he's been in and out of the lineup, right, all year long. But when he has been in the lineup, man, he has looked like one of the 5 best running backs in the NFL. And so I think Atlanta's defense is a defense that hasn't been getting a lot of credit. I think they played pretty well here over the past few weeks. But I like everything about this game. I've tried to find a way to, whether it's Darnell Mooney or even Tyler Lockett from a DFS side of things, right? I've tried to find a way to get to this game in some respect, whether Geno Smith is the highest rated, the highest owned quarterback, I believe, today. And it makes sense, man, because all the advanced analytics, they say he's the play today. I'm not going there. But from a price perspective and what he can do with the attempts and what the offense has been this year, I'm not saying I didn't play him at all, but I'm not going in as heavy on as the field on this. If anything, I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to ride with Kirk Cousins and get some exposure to the game that way from the quarterback position. So, well, what you got, man?
Well, why do I feel this game is going to be? It's just that this game's not being talked about enough. Why do I feel that way?
Because I that's one of the things, man. For me, obviously,
that's why I like attacking this game, because I don't feel like people are talking about this game enough.
Right.
There's so many juicy pieces here that where you're Metcalf at 6,800. I feel like this is the same feeling I had several weeks ago, when he was 6,300 against Miami.
Yeah,
so same feel. You know what I'm saying? And then he went out. He had 4 catches, but he had 104 yards and a touchdown because he had a big bomb in that game. I don't know why I got that feeling that Metcalf should be I'm not sure about roster percentages right now, but he's
grossly underowned. Again, that's a place that I'm getting to quite a bit. 13%.
Yeah, I think that's a smart percentage. Pivot off some other names in the range. I get it. People are probably about to play T Higgins or Tank Dell. 6,500, 6,400. Obviously, Malik Neighbors coming back. But it's more about I think Metcalf could still have that boom game here, and this could be the opportunity that he does so. London in the same range. What is Neighbors on DraftKings?
Neighbors
He's
is
up there then. Yeah, he's 75. And I get it. He's the Giants offense.
yeah, and like man, like for real, like it would probably be like
So,
the least expensive. Like we'll be able to get him, but like
yeah.
one of the things like I want to touch on, like I think again, like we're on the same page with this, man. I think when you talk about just the game we were talking about a little while ago, Green Bay and Houston, the only reason why I'm a little bit reserved about that game and getting so much exposure to that game is because those are two good football teams. And traditionally or typically from a DFS side of things, when you get two good teams that have a high over, they typically, I shouldn't say typically, but like they tend to go under. And like I think we both agree that like Seattle is not really a great team and Atlanta can be hit or miss. They're playing good football right now. So I just think like the tendency of this game has, for me, I think there's more opportunity for it to go over and for it to explode the way that like we would like for it to from a DFS side of things.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, if I'm picking someone, I probably would take Atlanta. I just think they're playing really good football now. You're hoping that Bijan Robinson consistently can have a game of like he did last week. I mean, it was the Carolina Panthers. Seattle is 18th against the run as a team. So, I mean, this could be another spot where Bijan could definitely take off. We just know Seattle's defense is pretty bad. I know Bijan is he's
78, I believe. 78, I believe.
Ooh.
71,
Nope.
sorry. 71.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, 7,100. I mean, you gotta ask yourself what can go right. You know, what can go right? But I think when you talk about quarterbacks, I think you're talking about two guys that are more stationary, not enough running upside. But 6,300 for Cousins and 5,800 for Geno. Like Geno, obviously, when it comes to optimizer, is going to be one of those plays that just put him in there because he's value. Like
Yeah.
And every once in a while, Geno does get loose, like for whatever reason. Like in some games, like he takes off for like 15 yards or something like that.
Michael Britt.
You know what I'm saying? Like So what? Before last week's game, he's had at least 30 rushing yards. So it's weird. Like 3 games at least that he had that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'll take Atlanta, but this could be one of those games where it definitely can be a pivot spot for some of your lineups for sure. Next game. High octane game as well. Lions.
The other one.
At the Vikings. NFC North Division. By the way, can you believe that the Packers are last in this division right now?
KOC.
No, the Packers are last in this division.
I know. KOC. I mean, like this is. I think this is.
Anytime you can say KOC.
Yeah, anytime.
You might get an autograph from him now.
Well, I like this is now like the best division in football, man. It previously was the AFC North, now it's the NFC North. This is the best division in football, and at this rate, man, it looks like they're going to be sporting potentially three teams at least, man, in the playoffs from this division if it continues on this way, man. So yeah, this is a crazy division so far this year.
Yeah, Lions pretty much a pickup. It's 1.5. Lions are the slight underdog. Going to Minnesota. Over under 50.5. The line may have changed to 51, but I'm not too sure. But because I think we just got an upgrade last minute, and we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, on some books. On my book, I'm looking at 50.5 still. But either way, this game is going to be hopefully a game where a lot of points are scored. Where I think it's a division matchup. I think the Lions defensively come into this matchup. Unfortunately, without Hutchinson after that broken leg. And then the Vikings coming off the bye is a spot we have to look out for. But I think the Lions can still win this game. I think when it comes to Minnesota, we all know they're going to be bringing the blitz with Flores. Like Detroit knows what to expect here. Flores going to bring the blitz. And Goff's pretty okay against the blitz. There's also a dome game for him as well. So, in terms of that, he's always done pretty well in dome games as well historically. And in terms of how the Vikings can overall get this win, I mean, it's more about like, can the defense make sure they get to Goff? Can they shut down Detroit a little bit on offense? Because Detroit right now, They average 157 rush yards per game. They overall are knowing when the blitz is going to come. They either get the ball to JMO or they get the ball to Amon-Ra against the blitz. So I expect a deep shot sometime in this game to JMO, just because like the Vikings just gamble way too much blitz wise, but it's been very effective so far. I think I'm gonna take the Lions in this one. I'm gonna take the slight underdog. I think this is a game where Detroit has to show us that they are for real once again. I think Minnesota, as much as they've been having a great year, I do think that this is a game where they could easily falter, even coming off the bye. No Aaron Jones, I don't think, unless he was. The last time I checked, he was questionable to play.
Still
He's
questionable.
expected to play, I think, from Adam Scheffler now. So he may not be 100%, honestly. But in terms of this game, I got the Lions in this one. But what do you say, Johnny, in terms of all things considered?
Oh man. Well, a couple things real quick. You were talking about Jared Goff, man. 429 yards and 3 touchdowns last year in both games against the Vikings. So like he definitely knows how to operate against this defense for sure. The other thing, man, is just like from a DFS side, Jared Goff is practically not owned. Like he is coming in at like 1% or under. And this is the game that like a lot of people are running to, or they're running to this game. So I do have some lineups that don't have Jared Goff in there. So I'm probably just going to go back after we get done with the show and just and maybe put him in one or two of those where I have Jameson Williams, because like my approach on this game from a DFS side has been I'm trying to get to Jordan Addison. I'm trying to get to JMO, obviously just to cut costs, right? And another interesting play for me, this is just a gut play. This is no analytics, no stats or anything like that. I feel like this is a Jahmyr Gibbs game, man. We've been waiting on like one of those like big Jahmyr Gibbs games, and like I think this would be the spot for him, because like I think this would be the spot for him, man. Like, you know, like we've been waiting for it, like Montgomery, or excuse me, Sonic and Knuckles. Sonic, this seems like a game for Sonic here today, man, just because like it's a big game and like we can make the argument that Jahmyr Gibbs is their best offensive player. And I think like in a big game like this right here, we've seen it before, like in other times, right? Like, you know, when you're playing against a really good team, your best player typically has to have a best game or play a large role in it. So like I'm definitely playing more than a few shares of Jahmyr Gibbs today. Justin Jefferson has absolutely scorched the Lions. I believe it was over the last 5 games. I think 4 out of the last 5 games or so, he's been over 100 yards. So he's absolutely scorched them. They got a couple of rooks back there as well, playing for the Lions. Man, like I'm going to take the Vikings, and the only reason why I'm going to take the Vikings is just because KOC. And the fact that obviously, hey, man, like Detroit, like they just had that injury, right? Like understand that it's one man on the defensive side of the ball, but I just think the Vikings are in a really, really good space right now, offensively, defensively. They're at home. And who would have thought, man, to your point, like earlier on when you first started this, who would have thought, man, we'd be in this place where the Lions and Vikings would be carrying. This would be essentially like the premier game of the week would be, or one of the premier games of the week, excuse me, the Lions and Vikings at 1:00, man. So give me the Vikings, man, as they continue to keep this thing rolling. And shout out to Kevin O'Connell again, man, lining himself up for a potential Coach of the Year award, doing what he's been doing, man.
Makes sense. Yep. I get it. It's just gonna be a game where it's gonna be definitely more enticing to watch for sure. Could be seeing a lot of definitely could be seeing a lot of points on the board. But I think this is one of those prove it games for me for Minnesota. I think for sure now. This has to be a spot where if you don't take care of business now for Minnesota, it's not that they lose momentum per se. It's just more about like you're just not ready to play against Detroit. Who has been, last couple seasons, they've really come on. So it's one of the statement games where you're at home. This is a perfect spot for Minnesota to win. And in some ways, they are anticipating to win. But in terms of how Detroit, I think, can get after them, in terms of both sides of the ball, in terms of exposing Flores a little bit, this could be the spot for sure. But I agree with you. Like, is going to definitely win this game as well for sure. Dolphins. At Indianapolis, Dolphins coming off the bye, 2-3, getting 3 on the road. Colts 3-3, over under 43.5. Anthony Richardson starting this game for the Colts today at home. No Tua still for Miami. Another week under the belt for Tyler Huntley. What do you expect in this game in terms of how both these teams can operate as far as all the changes are concerned in this game?
Well, for me, to go to the DFS side first, Anthony Richardson and his price tag today, if you are constructing a lineup to get to some of these higher end wide receivers and things like that.
Cheaper. I still wish it was cheaper.
You still wish it was cheaper, right? But let's just think about it, man. Right? The next words that are coming out of my mouth. There's not another player at that price that you're going to be able to get that could give you that upside in this game.
I mean, Gino at 5,800. Oh, are you talking about this game? I mean,
yeah,
Gino. If we're really,
but the field is going there. That's where everybody is going. They're going there, and so to be different, in that same price range. This is a really good spot. I think it's a good spot for him to be in when you look at it from a mobility side of things, with him, which we'll see how mobile he is today. But I took a chance on him in a couple of lineups, just because, like I said, the construction of the way things are going so far today, when you're building your roster, we talked about it, you got you're in a range of DK and Neighbors and Terry McLaurin, or even if you go up to get Jay Jets or Amon Ra, right? You have to come back, you have to cut costs somewhere. And you're cutting costs. If you're cutting costs to get Anthony Richardson, you could do that, or you could pay down and running back. There's some other guys I want to talk about later on in the show, your running back. But that, to me, man, in a GPP setup, I'm cool with playing a Rich, man. Like I said, I'm playing him a little bit. And then the running back situation for the Colts is a very interesting situation, for sure. Because everybody, we all went out and got Trey Sermon, but Tyler Goodson looked really well last week. So I'm playing a little bit of him as well. So I'm kind of giving it the old Baltimore Raven treatment, where I'm stacking the run game here in this one, because I don't think we trust the passing game with the Colts. And then as far as the Dolphins go, man, it's it sucks, man, to sit here and see you're one of my favorite wide receivers, Tyreek Hill, your guy, man, that you planted your flag on, Devon Achane, and it's we can't even muster up the guts.
I both played him against the ESPN Eric guy this week. You know what I'm saying? Our cookout league. Gotta play them both.
Yeah. Well, hey, man. Listen.
Scheffler says that Adams is expected to have a prominent role against your Steelers tonight.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too. Yeah. Well, I would say good luck to you in the cookout league, but I don't really mean it. So there's that. Oh, but or maybe maybe you can do what I did, and maybe you can beat Moody, man. So for me, man, that's the one play, or two plays that I really do like in this game. I do like A Rich, and like I said, I do like Goodson as well. So I'm definitely finding some ways to get them in there. Definitely some nice pay down options. But as far as the Dolphins go, man, I can't trust anybody on that team, man. And I think if you really wanted to get unique, and you felt happy or really good about your build, maybe you could throw in Devon Achane and a GPP just to get kind of cute because of what the Colts have done defensively. But that's in my opinion, that's almost on the same level of playing Calvin Ridley this week for me.
Yeah, fair. I mean, there's some pivotal pieces here. I'm just not sure if I'm touching Indianapolis run game per se, because with Richardson back, if the prices are kind of baked into, Flacco probably still starting versus Richardson, because I think both of these guys should be starting at 5,500 DK. I don't understand that. I really don't understand it. He had that one game a couple weeks ago, against Jacksonville, because everybody gets right against Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And then Tyler Goodson last week obviously got some pass catching role with Flacco in. I'm just not sure what to expect from either of those guys with Richardson in. So it's more about first week guys like Pittman, maybe Downs, more likely than not. But Pittman 6,200. No Pierce. I don't think Pierce is playing today. Well, he's questionable coming in, but looked like he wasn't gonna. Now expected to play. But in terms of Downs and Pittman, it's like I don't know. I think I only really want to touch Richardson from that start of QB in this game. Like maybe Huntley, maybe really, but he hasn't shown much ceiling. So it's definitely tricky when it comes to DFS in this side of these games for this game for sure. Between these teams, HN 6,700, Tyreek Hill definitely cheaper, 7,400, 7,300. Waddle is, I mean, he's usually an afterthought sometimes, but he's probably what 5K? Yeah, 5,300 for Waddle. So I just don't know if I want to touch many parts of this game. If I'm gonna pick a winner here, give me the Colts because I'm a Jets fan. That's all I got to say, really. Any more before we move on?
Nah, man, I'm with you. I probably would ride with the Colts on this game here and probably on the under.
Hey, I'm rooting for Richardson, if anything else. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm rooting for him to really, hopefully, get his stuff together. Hopefully, it's not the most greatest bounce back spot, but I hopefully he has a decent game today. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
He's so stupid. So stupid. It's so stupid.
And the Giants. Eagles coming into this game 3-2. They are a 3-point fave going into the Meadowlands. Taking on the Giants. Giants are 2-4 in the year. Over under 42.5. These Eagle Giants games are always classic.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get another classic one today. What I would expect is I really expect the Eagles to take it to the Giants today. This is a game where I'm going to really find out what the Eagles are all about, right? This feels like one of those games where if they don't come out and they don't put the smack down on the Giants going up the street, basically, it's one of the, it just will turn me off from the Eagles. If they don't come in and win this game by 10 plus points, we know all we need to know about the Eagles. I promise you that. If they don't come in and smack these dudes by 10 points or more. Because look, now there's no more excuses. You know what I'm saying? AJ Brown's back. He's had a week. Devontae Smith's back. He's had a week. No Goddard, but does that really matter?
No.
You were using Grant Alcantara, you know what I'm saying, as the tight end anyway, more. So that doesn't really matter. Eagles defense, like, still more middle of the pack, so they weren't as worse than last year, especially the downstretch they had last year. But I think this Eagles team, they need to put it together this week. They need to put 10. They need to win this game by 10 or more points. They need to show the Giants who they are. They need to show the world who they are. Because if they don't, I'm just not going to take this team seriously the rest of the season. I hate to put that all in one game, but it's like I know the Giants have been playing okay. Daniel Jones been looking better than I think what people expect. Probably I expect. But I really just think it's the defense once again kind of scapegoating them out in some performances and just keeping them in games. But what do you say overall? I'm taking the Eagles, taking the 3 points. I might do an alternate and take them by 10 points, but I just think it's a game where the Eagles have to make a statement in this game. They have to, because if they don't, like I said, it just makes it feel like this team is not ready for the Super Bowl at all. So
maybe they're not ready for the Super Bowl. Maybe they're not. But like I think like everything you just said about the Giants, like the Giants, man, like they are making it tough. They're not a pushover.
No.
And that's like that's good to see, man, for sure.
Yeah.
Like I think like obviously you have to take the Eagles. Like I think like no one in their right mind can be like, all right, like I feel like the Giants are going to win this game. I don't want to put that much on it because I just think that like the Giants are a good football team. So to be like, yo, like if they don't win by 10, like they can't be taken serious. Like I don't think there's been too many teams that have just like ran roughshod on them other than I think was it the Vikings week 1? Or who was it? I think it might have been the Vikings week 1. The Vikings week 1. But like, but even like, and like the Vikings are, you can make the argument they're the best team and the second best team in football. So like for me, like I agree, like Philadelphia has all their weapons back, but I think, man, this game I don't think it's gonna be what you're thinking it's gonna be because I feel like the Giants are gonna, but I think the Giants are gonna be ready to play. The Giants are going to be ready to play today. And I think, like, if you're Brian Daboll, like, for sure, if you're Brian Daboll, like the one thing you cannot let happen is you cannot let Saquon Barkley go out there and throw up about 200 yards and 3 touchdowns today. You cannot let that happen. Cannot let that happen. And Daniel Jones plays like crap. You cannot let that happen.
Oh boy.
You know? So like, this is
like you were thinking my mind.
It's juicy out there, man.
Like you were thinking my mind.
Yeah, and then like Saquon Barkley, man, and even like the Philadelphia Eagles offense as a whole from a DFS side of the world is like they're practically not on. Like Saquon is the top running back price wise. He's about 5%. So you got that. You got Jalen Hurts. I think he's like maybe like 2% coming in today. No, actually he's jumped to like almost 5. So that's kind of kicked up a little bit. Devontae Smith is around 3. AJ Brown. He's not owned the way that he should be. If you think he's going to get busy today, it's like 6%. So like if you want to get different, right, and like you feel like as strongly as Nick does about the Eagles and like what they should do, that's a great game stack to
National
go with.
Saquon Barkley today.
It is National Saquon Barkley Day. That's a great way to get different with the field. And then also, like I said, like there's a couple of players on this slate this week. It's a really unique slate. Like you're not going to get Eagle players unless they stink the place up today. You're not going to get them at this low of ownership. The price is what it is, but from an ownership side of thing, which is really where you tilt things in the DFS tournaments, you're not going to get them this low on. So like, if you want to get different, that's the play, but give me the Eagles for sure. And the other last note with the Giants, obviously Malik Neighbors is back. The Eagles have always had an issue with secondary. I shouldn't say always, but really over the last year or two, really with secondary issues. And you got this monster coming back. And then this run game that looks good. Like, so now you have Tracy and I think potentially Singletary back today as well. Should be really interesting game, man. This is one that I'm definitely interested in. And as far as the over and unders on things, I'm going to take the under because the only way that this game hits the over is just if the Eagles absolutely explode. I don't think the Giants allow that. And then the Giants offensively have to put up points, which I think we've seen, like they're not going to run the scoreboard up. 17 points to 20 points for them is a great day at the office. So I'll take the under on this game as well. Yeah, it's true, bro.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm taking the over because I'm standing on my sit. I'm standing on business.
Okay, SOB.
And I think again, there's gonna be a lot of Eagles fans today. There's gonna be a lot of Eagles fans in that life as well.
Yeah,
waiting for. I'm just interested to see those interactions.
I know. There's a lot of good shit today, man. A lot of good shit.
A Barkley jersey in there. As the Eagles,
woo!
like, yeah, what's this? Like, yeah, we got your boy now. He's about to roast you.
But can't wait to see on Twitter some of the fights.
I don't. Hopefully not. Honestly, I really don't like seeing those all the time. Honestly,
man,
only because I know people are stupid, but it's more like.
No, there's a difference between felony stupid and just stupid. Like stupid in the stands is okay. Felony stupid is really effing stupid. So you're gonna see it. It's gonna happen.
I got Barkley for rusher receiving over 101 yards. Dare I say, just a come out party. Analysis: the Giants are better against the run, but I do think Barkley has an opportunity to still at least get 50-something yards in a round. Dare I say, more receiving yards this week. If you guys feel a little bit more safer, you want to take the over 2.5 receptions for him, Barkley, I can understand that as well. So that's also, it's not a play for the prop shop, the receptions. I'm just going to take the rusher receiving because I think the Eagles are going to want to funnel through Barkley today. For as with no Goddard as well, there should be a little bit more check down lanes for Hurts as well. So him, I also got Devontae Smith over 56.5 receiving yards.
That one.
Because the Giants gave up the third highest completion percentage to slot receivers, and come on, Peter. They give up the third highest completion percentage to slot receivers. Devontae Smith has averaged 76 yards in every contest. Has averaged 76 yards across the board, averaging out in all his matchups against the Giants. I just think that they may not be able to get AJ Brown his his deep shot, maybe one out of AJ Brown maybe today. But I think it's going to be a lot of check down stuff. Devontae Smith, Barkley, especially without no Dallas Goedert today. They might be able to get the deep shot to AJ Brown later, but I'm taking both of those guys in this game. Anything else before we move on? John A.
Tune in. Tune in, man.
Get your popcorn ready.
That's it. That's it.
All right, to the 4 o'clock games we go. Crap game.
Okay.
Raiders, Rams. Raiders getting 7 on the road, 2-4, going to the Rams, coming off the bye, 1-4, over under 43.5. Taking the Rams to win this game. I'm just not sure if I'm taking the spread. Raiders have proved to us before they can hang around in games far enough, but I think that the Rams, we don't know what to expect from this team just yet. And we're 5 games in. Cooper Kupp's expected not to play today. There's a lot of chatter that he was going to play, which I think is the right move. I think you need to sit him another week just to make sure he is, spring spry. In terms of how you're going to need him, and then still no Puka Nacua. He's going to be probably out till probably at least week 10. And Rams coming into this game, like I said, off the bye, and they're going to be at home. I expect the Rams to take care of business in this one. If they have any opportunity and shot to get back into the race in the standings, they need to win this game. So I think they're going to come out with some desperation today. Expecting Kyron to do his thing as well. Maybe score 2 touchdowns today. What do you say, Johnny, in terms of how you view these teams, their outlooks, in terms of how this can go, in terms of how the futures can go?
I'm picking the Rams too today, man. I think you're spot on about the Raiders. That's the kind of the crazy thing about the Raiders team is you never know what version of the Raiders team you're gonna get. But again, another big change that happened in the locker room. Devontae Adams took his talents to New York. So for me, looking at this on the DFS side of things, obviously I think Kyron Williams is definitely a solid play today for sure. Until he's not scoring touchdowns or get hurt. The other thing too, I was just kind of going through this morning making my lineups and this is not a bad place to go to get value on players. You have the Raiders with Madison, you can plug him in your running back position. You have DeMarcus Robinson, who you can play, I think at 4,700 on DraftKings as well. In your flex spot later on, gives you the ability to get to some different pieces later on. I wouldn't say Matt Stafford. I'm not going to say that, but obviously, hey man, if you want to stack that up, knock yourself out. But I think the pass catchers here for the Rams today, I think are pretty interesting to me, just from the side of the fact that they're cheap. They're definitely cheap. So I am playing a little bit of Alexander Madison this week, and I feel gross about it, and I need to go take a shower about it. And then you got Brock Bowers, who at this point, man, has been the best tight end in football. I think he might be the 3rd highest priced tight end on DraftKings today. So you might want to get to that before he becomes the highest priced tight end on DraftKings. So that's the way I'm looking at this game. And I do think this game has the sneaky potential to go over. And I also like the Rams defense as well. From a DFS side of things, just obviously, hey man, if the Raiders turn the football over, they probably will, or whatever the case may be. So I'm a little bit more interested in this game probably than most, just because I'm a sicko a little bit. But yeah, man, those are Kyron, Alexander Madison, Rams pass catchers, Rams defense. That's what I'm interested in going into this game.
Yeah, fair enough. Definitely fire up the Rams defense as well. 100% agree on that. Because Aiden O'Connell hasn't really looked like the guy that should be. Not exactly should be, but he's just pretty much a bridge at this point until they.
Yeah, he don't look like franchise material.
Yeah.
Get ready for Shador.
I don't know, man.
Get ready.
Probably not gonna like that, honestly. I'm not sure if he's gonna like that, but we'll see. Maybe Dallas will go out there and make it.
Tennessee, baby. One of the fastest growing cities in the world, Nashville, Tennessee.
By the way, if Carlos still here, Kenneth Walker is active today.
Okay, all right, baby. Here we go.
So
little post-show changes coming up. You know what I mean? All right.
Post-show changes coming up.
That's right.
In his secret lair.
Yeah.
Carolina 1-5 on the road, getting 9.5.
This is the highest now. Okay.
Yeah, 51.5. You know, the Commanders coming in 4-2, over under 51.5. Like, what does this game smell like?
You smell that? I
Yeah,
smell.
it smells like Carolina plus 9.5. I know, crazy, right?
Yeah.
I just think that Carolina. This is a game where I think if they don't keep this game close, I think it's just forget their season in general. Which we're already starting to write that off anyway. But at least with Andy Dalton at the helm, they've had some opportunities to stay in games. But dare I say, 9.5 again? It's too much. I think it's just a little too much. But the Commanders have been looking awesome. Obviously, they're keeping pace with any team they play, beating the bricks off bad teams as well. So it is a scary 9.5 for sure.
Yeah.
But anything can happen in the NFL. I'm not betting the 9.5. It's something I would just take. The over/under is more interesting, obviously, because you're like, well, do we think that the Commanders can get 30 by themselves? It's possible. But what in terms of this game, obviously, Jaden Daniels, he's been doing his absolute thing. Brian Robinson's active for this game, so will be Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, the 1-2 punch. Deontay Johnson should be, for the Carolina side, should be playing this game. But what do you say in terms of this game, Johnny, overall?
Don't like. Give me the Commanders defense. I'll start there. Obviously, Jaden Daniels goes without saying. Like, you have to play him. Season-long DFS. He's got to be in the mix. Scary Terry, like I said, we're here for it. I think right on time here, the week before Halloween. Scary Terry season here against the Panthers. I mean, that's really, like, that's where I'm at. I think Zach Ertz is a play, like, at tight end. Like, if you obviously want to pay down or if you want to get kind of different, like, with your stacks. Some guys that are, like, are interesting, like, on the cheaper side of things. Noah Brown is somebody that he's back, I guess you could say. I think we were hoping for McCaffrey to be a thing, and that doesn't look like that's going to be a thing for sure. And then, obviously, depending on the Deontay Johnson news that we get at 4:00, which I think like you have to brace yourself for this because this is a really weird situation. It's not weird, but it's a 4:00 start time. So like you just have to be prepared like for season long if you have Deontay to be able to pivot to somebody else, or even from a DFS side of things. Like if you plan on playing Deontay, like what is your next best option? And like I was saying, maybe there's DeMarcus Robinson in the Rams game at 4:00, or maybe you can throw out one of the Chiefs pass catchers, but for me, like that's really like where I'm at. I think Chuba Hubbard's getting a lot of love. I just don't know what that's going to look like from a game script. I know like he can be used in the passing game, so maybe it doesn't matter. So I'm just not all the way there on him just because of the ownership is one reason why like I'm moving off of him. But if Deontay Johnson doesn't play, man, I think this game goes under, and I think Carolina struggles mightily if Deontay Johnson doesn't play. And then like just some other plays like on the Panthers side of things. We got Sanders at tight end for Jatavion Sanders at tight end for the Carolina Panthers. I think that's a real pay down option at 2,900 on DraftKings. So that's a way for you to be able to get some other unique pieces, some of these high end pieces like we talked about earlier, whether it's Saquon, AJ Brown, Justin Jefferson, Jaden Daniels. You can get those pieces in by having him there. So that's really like my only call out, man, is that right there. So
yeah, especially if the game becomes garbage time. His target share has been going up the last couple of weeks.
Oh, I'm sorry. And Brian Robinson. I'm sorry. I meant to call that out. Brian Robinson. Like, I think that's I apologize, man. Like, that's another place too. Like, just to get to, man. Like, I think like he had been playing really good football before the injury. I think one of the better draft values of the year for where you got him at. So I think this is obviously a prime spot. We just seen what Bijan just did last week. So I'm 1,000,000% comfortable with him playing him and making sure to get him in your lineup. So I apologize about that.
No worries. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, especially way, Bijan ran out. Tyler Algier too. They both ran him over last week. 6,400 is like one of those price tags where it's like right in the smack in the middle of some other plays. but I definitely get it. In terms of how this game script can definitely go as well, so that makes sense for Brian Robinson, especially for the later games. In terms of how this game, I mean, I expect the Commanders to win. I just think Carolina could still take the point spread, but call me delusional.
You know what?
Huh?
I was about to say, you know what, man? I think one of the things you and me both need to do, man, is we need to combine our parlays together and just walk with Jesus here, you and I, like on some of these, because you love these shitty teams and their big numbers, man.
It's always any given Sunday, man. That's all I gotta say.
Any given Sunday. All right.
It is.
It is.
George Play, our guy.
What's up?
How we doing? We're feeling fantastic. It's Sunday football. Sorry, Brian Thomas.
All right, good deal.
Thank God you did.
yeah.
Thank God he did. He had almost a 60-yard reception.
Yep.
Had a touchdown. But, need help from either wide receiver. So, J-Mo, Mari, Juju, Jason. Standard league. Man. This is tougher because my gut is telling me Amari Cooper, but that game could easily get blown out. J-Mo, because look, J-Mo is in a higher scoring,
game environment.
There you go. And then that's probably my play right now. Probably J-Mo. I can easily play Amari Cooper. I can easily play Juju. I can easily play JSN. But to give you an option, I'm just gonna go with Amari Cooper. Just gonna bet on the talent. I'm gonna bet on the guy that that they're gonna want to get him involved right away. But I think it's more about getting a touchdown. I think Cooper could definitely score a touchdown today. I just think it's definitely tough. But I'll say Cooper. What do you say, Johnny?
I'm a J-Mo fan. What can I say?
Me too.
Yeah. Like I think like it's funny because I was looking at some things like before we got online, and one of the props was like 60 yards, and I'm thinking, man, like if like I know if Jameson Williams gets 60 yards, there's probably a touchdown involved in it as well.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, but like I would like I'm J-Mo, then Coop, then Juju. JSN's game environment is pretty good as well, but my only concern, or the only way I think Cooper gets a touchdown today, is if it's obviously like a big busted play, because I think like one of the things, at least for me, that's been I've been aware of like early on, like with Josh Allen, is like they're not taking aggressive chances in the red zone. They're running a lot of like quick stuff, which obviously Amari can score on that, like if they're inside the red zone. But I feel a little bit better about J-Mo finding pay dirt today than I do Coop. But I think either one of those guys, man, are your two best plays for sure, man.
Yeah, understandable. Juju's questionable, JSN, but it's more about those other two guys are more for half-point PPR or full-point PPR games.
And Juju shit like 2 weeks ago came on busted coverage plays, man. So like that's the other thing too. Yeah, so
sure. All right. For the Carolina game, Commanders, I got Chuba Hubbard over 70 rushing yards.
Chuba Hubbard.
Chuba Hubbard. He's been pretty stellar since Dalton's been starting at quarterback. He's hit this number. He's had at least 90 rushing yards in every game that Dalton's been under center. So I do like the 70 rushing yards. It's going to be one of those games where it might be tough sledding for him to get to that line, but I do like it in terms of how I see that game. Now, we're going on to the game of the week, at least for the 4 o'clock games. That is the Chiefs and the Niners. Chiefs coming in now to a +1.5. It's been up and down. There's been money coming in on the Chiefs lately. I think the line opened at a 2.5, and then it stayed at 2.5 for quite some time. Then it went to 1.5 like the last couple of days. Excuse me. Over under is 46.5. That's an interesting line because this game could go definitely either way for the over under. Chiefs coming in undefeated, going on the road. Candlestick. Whew. Man, I've been back and forth.
They call it candlestick. I was about to say they ain't called it candlestick, man, since we was like in like 4th or 5th grade.
That's why I was
called me old. You went candlestick.
That's why I said I'm going back to that. Got to get a throwback or retro every once in a while. But Levi Stadium. And I've been back and forth on this game. Wednesday, I said that the Niners should take this game. Just in terms of Niners need this game a lot more than the Chiefs do. Like, I know the Chiefs have not looked their best, but they're still undefeated. Niners, they've been showing up for games. They just can't close them.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm back and forth on it. Like my heart's telling me the Chiefs, my head's telling me the Niners. Neither one of them, someone's gonna be wrong. My head or my heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm gonna change my mind. I'm gonna take the Chiefs.
I was gonna say, like,
it's just again like with the Niners, it's like I just can't trust them, man. Like they can't close any games out. Like when they have decent leads, they sometimes don't score in second half. Sometimes it's good against mediocre defense like Arizona. Like I don't get it. So it's a big game for the Niners. Like would I be shocked if they won? No. But it's like I just think the Chiefs, as far as I know, again, they haven't really put it all together per se. Like we had Mahomes throwing for 300 passing yards against the Saints before they went on by, but didn't throw any passing touchdowns. It's like I expect that to change today. Look, like I definitely like this game a lot when it comes to props as well. But yeah, like this game, I'm going back and forth on so much. I hate it. Do I like the over? Maybe, maybe not. It's just like you already know. Mahomes comes into this game. He has lowest air yard percentage throwing the football, but he has the highest yards per completion after the catch coming into this game. Also coming into this game, Travis Kelce, who has made the prop shot list. Kelce over 61.5 receiving yards. You could definitely take a little bit higher on this number. He's had 90 yards at least in 3 of the last 4 matchups against the Niners. These are including the Super Bowls. I just think that him, Juju Smith-Schuster, those are the target. That's the target tree. And Mahomes is going to keep on checking down the ball. Like, so these guys are going to get him and Juju because I got him and Juju for both over 40 receiving yards and over 3.5 catches. I just think that how they're using Juju is just like how they were using Rice, and Kelsey's going to benefit from that as well. I just think the Chiefs overall, they are just going to be doing this constantly, and this could lead to the under, but I still like all these props, even Mahomes over 241 pass yards, and even give me Kareem Hunt over 52.5 rush yards. I just think I like this game a lot when it comes to the Chiefs game, because even if they are behind, we're still going to find ways to, for the Chiefs to be somewhat successful, even if they're playing from behind, even though they got everything going on. But I'm taking these props now because I think the Chiefs can find a way to just stay competitive in this ball game offensively, even if the Niners come out to like a 10-0 lead like they kind of have against the Chiefs in past years. But what do you say, Johnny, in terms of this game? Am I crazy now to switch to the Chiefs after I said the Niners earlier in the week? Like, what do you think?
Well, before I, deem you crazy like I always do anyway. It's just crazy, man. Like it's crazy because we know what this game is going to be, man. And Brock Purdy, man, he's looked so good all year long, man. He's looked so good as a quarterback. And I think like one real key component for both of these teams that is talked about, but it's not advertised. It's just the lack of what they're going to potentially have in the run game. I know you just highlighted Kareem Hunt in the rushing yards, right? But like different ball club without Isaiah Pacheco, like Mason, like shoulder injury. We know like, hey, all it takes is one hit and hey, we're back to square one with him. I think like that to me, like that's like the common ingredient for both of these teams to be effective offensively is obviously their run game. And like just like being unclear about what that looks like for both teams is probably the root of why you're so like up in the air about like where do I go with this game, because both quarterbacks have played well. I know Patrick Mahomes hasn't looked good for fantasy. A guy I was talking to earlier in the year, man, goes to my daughter's school. Like we were just kind of chatting about football like we always do. We just kind of ignore everybody else and talk about fantasy football. Kids are pile driving each other, punching each other. And we're just like, yeah, fantasy football. So like we're like, we were just talking, and I think like what's happened with Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes has reached the stage that Tom Brady was at one point in time, which is like he is a better real life quarterback than he is a fantasy quarterback. And for fantasy people, like that is a very it's very tough for us to be able to stomach, right? Is like, man, like this guy's still the best quarterback in football, but like he's not putting up fantasy points like at the rate that like he was, say, 4 or 5 years ago. So I think that's where we're at with Mahomes. So in real life, like you give me the guy who is the guy that you do not want to be behind in Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones, man. We were like, this guy is so fucking good, dude. He is so good, man. And I think like for me, man, I take the Chiefs, man, for sure, because I think the Niners have had some issues in the secondary, which seems to be kind of like a reoccurring theme. One name you didn't bring up was Xavier Worthy. I think this could be a big game for him right here, just because of some of the issues that the Niners are having in the secondary. Yep. And then like, man, like, dude, I'm gonna say this right now, Brandon Ayuk, you talked all that noise, acted a damn fool.
He gets Trent McDuffie today, so it doesn't get any easier. But
yeah,
there's the matchup to watch because I think because the Chiefs play a lot of man-to-man, like I think the Niners are going to see that and try to get Ayuk, a lot more involved than they have. So this one of the matchups definitely to watch the game.
That's all I'm saying is you talked all that noise all off season long, acted a fool, wearing the wrong shorts, holding in, holding out. Didn't want to come hang out with your real dad, Mike Tomlin. Left us out on the island. Show up today. Show up. That's it. Oh, show up. If you for the San Francisco 49ers, show up. That's it. That's it. Chiefs. Chiefs. Tough. That's what That's what I got. I got
you. What about the over? What about the under?
Like I said, man, my theory on things, I typically like to stay on the under with two really good football teams.
Yep.
However, I do like this one to go over. And like I said, the reason why is just what I just mentioned earlier. I think the Chiefs find a way to put points on the board through the air. And I think the Niners aren't – this isn't going to be a layup game for the Chiefs. It's not going to be. I think this is the game where you probably get Deebo Samuel. You get one of them Deebo days today, man. I feel like this is what – in my mind, this has got Deebo written all over it. So I'll take the over on the 46.5 here with these two really good football teams.
Makes sense. I think both these teams have ability to score. I think they're going to have to score against each other, so it's going to be interesting. All right, getting to our game of the week. The moment we've both been waiting for. The New York Jets coming into Pittsburgh to take on Johnny's Steelers, my Jets, in prime time, Sunday Night Football, with a gross over-under of 38.5. Jets coming in 2-4 after coming off weird losses over the last 3 weeks. Steelers coming in 4-2, fresh off a beatdown of the Raiders. 8:15 p.m. is the game where it's at for us. What do you say about your Steelers? What do you say about this game in general? And regardless of who wins or loses, what do you like about the outcome moving forward for your team?
All right. For me, I understand what's going on. I don't love it. I do think this Russ Wilson situation has more to do about the draft pick things, which, besides Antonio Brown and Tom Brady, give me 2 6-round picks, man. Give me 2 6-round picks. All right, whatever. What are we doing? We need to win these games, right? And I understand, there's also, a piece of this, too, that's, preparation for both quarterbacks, because I do think you're going to see Justin Fields on the field at some point in time tonight. They're going to have packages for him. It's just, it's the old Steve Spurrier play with 2 quarterbacks, which I hate. And, I will go to my grave being a Mike Tomlin truther, right? I will go to my grave. And I'm going to. I'm going to. He is a leader of men. But sometimes
I'm jealous I don't have him.
Yeah, right. But sometimes, on the X's and O's things, man, I'm like, oh my God, dude. You just need it's all right, man. You just might need a guy who might be a little bit smarter than you, or at least a guy that can just be like, hey, man, that's not the play, man. That's not the move, right? Just on the offensive side of the ball, man.
Around play they tried doing last week.
Shut up. I just what are we doing? What are we doing, man? But I do, like I said, I'm very interested to see what happens with Russ tonight, because if this game was 10 years ago, man, this would be the game of the week with a prime Aaron Rodgers with the Jets and prime Devontae Adams and prime Russ Wilson with, whatever was out there. I just think you're looking at two quarterbacks who are well past their prime.
Yeah, breaking news, though.
Oh, Lord.
I know.
What is it?
We have – and he's like, what is it?
Jeez.
According to Brad Stainbrook of the NFL, he says that Dorian Thompson-Robinson should be extra prepared for this game and moving forward. I hope the change is coming, man, for the Browns. It just has to come at some point, guys. Like, just do it, please. But in terms of the Steelers, I mean, look, defense is still on point. Najee Harris should be ready for this game. Jalen Warren should also be playing this game as well. Touchdown Patriots. They're the score now. Who was it?
Was it Drake May pass?
Oh, it's KJ Osborne.
Drake May passing touchdown. Give me that.
Yeah, I'll let you have that.
Yeah, everything you're saying about the defense being on point, like that
punches the ball at everybody's hand.
That's that's always a thing, man. Like, that's the only reason why, like, the last 4 years, that's why we've been who we were. Like, the previous 5 years before that, that's why we could never make it to a effing Super Bowl, man. It's because the defense sucked. But like, I just think like this is a game, man, where, like I was saying, like, you got two quarterbacks, man, who are well past their prime. You have two teams that are heavily lean on their defense. For sure. You guys have a better running game with Brees and Braylon for sure. So, like, that's something that makes me a little bit nervous. And if there is one thing, like, about this game that does concern me for the Steelers, is like, Aaron Rodgers in the past has done a really good job against the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. And I said it a few weeks ago, like, with Dak Prescott and stuff, like, those are the type of quarterbacks, like, true quarterbacks are what really give the Steelers problems. And, like, Aaron Rodgers can't move the way that he used to, obviously, due to the injury. So, like, that's the only reason why I feel a little bit good about, like, where they're at overall, is just because of Aaron Rodgers and his inability of mobility, if you would say. But I am concerned about Brees Hall and, like, what he can bring to this game. I know, obviously, on the outside, the receivers, this is the first time for me probably in 20 some odd years that I have felt really great about what the Steelers have in the secondary with JPJ and Jackson. So, like, I'm not as concerned as probably some people would be about the Jets passing game or the Jets receivers, more the Jets passing game. But I do feel like this is a game that, like I said, if the Steelers get Alex Highsmith is back this week too. Steelers can get to Aaron Rodgers tonight, man, get 4 sacks. I do feel good about that. Aaron Rodgers has been turning over the football as well. So, yeah, you know what it is, man. The standard is the standard, man. Give me the boys.
Anyhow,
you better hope it don't go like this. You better hope it don't. You better hope to God it don't. Oh my God!
Touchdown tonight and take it. Take that to the bank for what it is. I like the over here for some reason. Russell Wilson at quarterback is definitely. I wouldn't be excited about that. I just wouldn't be. Like, it's more about, like.
You think I am? I've been saying it since August. Justin Fields is the guy. What are we doing?
That's why I wanted to bring it up.
Oh my God!
I have no idea why you're benching Justin Fields. Like, you should. I just feel like he hasn't given you much of a reason for you to bench him like this, to be honest. And it's like, yeah, you want to go with the veteran all the time, whatever. But did Russell Wilson even earn it yet? No. So. Especially in a spot where against the Jets defense, where one of the better defensive units in the league, in terms of the pass, and look, like, calf injury, it's like not Russell Wilson coming off that. Like, it took him this long come back from a calf injury. The calf injury was back in July?
Hitting a blocking sled. Yeah.
It took him that long? It took him 3 months to get back? Like,
yeah. Because he old. That's why he old.
I mean, look, again, Pittsburgh's offense, like, I mean, look, it's going to go through the run game, obviously. It's got to be one play to George Pickens that he gets potentially on Reed because he's been trash as well. Sauce Gardner, obviously, the lockdown corner, but DJ Reed is going to be one that you guys are going to have to attack until he proves it this year. Because
the good news is we don't got a number 2 wide receiver, so you can't do that.
Oh, boy. But, yeah, I mean, look, line hasn't changed much since the Russell Wilson starting QB because the Jets opened as a road favorite, which was a little odd to me. But, yeah, I mean, I'm sure I know where you're going. You were taking your boys at home, taking my boys on the road. We'll see what happens. And that's how there is to it.
Yeah.
Adams anytime touchdown, people. Adams anytime touchdown. Monday Night Football Part 1. Got 2 games to get to, and then we'll review the props, and then we'll be out of here. Ravens getting 3.5 on the road, going to Tampa Bay. Ravens are 4-2, so are the Bucks. Over is 49.5. I honestly think that number for the over-under is like a little high. But granted, the Ravens, I know, given what the Bucks did last week, right? But granted, given how the Ravens have looked, they are, leading the league in yards per game, 453 yards per game. They also are leading the league in rushing yards, 205 yards per game. Crazy. What happens when you get Lamar and Derrick Henry in the same backfield, huh? Look, I like the Ravens. Give me the points. It's just a game where Lamar's 5-0 against NFC South opponents, and I think coming into this game, the Ravens are going to look to try to do the same thing they've always done and just bully ball. But the problem is, like, what direction do we go? Like, is it Lamar and doing, option plays and getting out to the end and outrunning all your defenders? Is it Derrick Henry smashing you in the middle? Is it Zay Flowers catching passes, like how he has been back-to-back games with at least over 100 yards? And last week, he had 9 catches, 131 yards in the first half alone.
First half.
So yeah, it's a lot to think about if you're Tampa Bay for sure. They have a lot to overcome this matchup. Mike Evans tweaked his hamstring on Thursday, so they're saying he's going to play, but is he more of a decoy? ? So I just don't like the smell of the Bucks right now, especially with that Mike Evans hamstring thing. I just don't think he's going to if he's going to be up to par, he'll be up to par. But I think the Ravens have enough to beat Tampa Bay on the road here. But what do you say, Johnny?
Yeah, I actually think that number, man, I actually like that number. I'm going on the over because, like, one of the things, man, like, if we haven't quite figured it out yet, I know, like, this is – I love – Not even necessarily, giving up leads, but, like, also, too, like, here's the deal, man. Baker Mayfield is slinging at some bitch come hella high water. Like, it's happening. Like, he's going to throw it 50 times on Monday night, one way or the other. Like, if they up, he's throwing it 50 times. If they're down, he's throwing it 50 times, man. And, like, all the things you just hit on, man, about the Baltimore Ravens and what they've been so far this year offensively in the run game and just in the total yardage game as well. I think obviously says, like, there are points to be scored in this game for sure. And, like, here's the other thing, man. Like, Baltimore's defense, like, it's name brand. You know what I mean? Like, it's name brand. It isn't as elite as it has been, which is fine, right? Like, which is fine whenever you're leading the league in yards. Like, all you got to do is stop people, like, a few times and you're good. You just got to be mid, right? And so I think, like, for the Ravens, like, that's who they are right now. That's where they're at. But, like, I like this over. I think this if you're playing on the 2-game slate on Monday, man, like, this is probably the only game that, like, I am just, like, stacking and, like, getting to is, like, this game with these players. Mike Evans, like, man, yeah, tweaked the hamstring in practice. Is he a decoy? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe he runs down the field one time, gets open, scores a touchdown, draws some attention. Chris Godwin gets 18 catches again like he has previously. But Cade Otton is another guy that's a really good matchup, or not a really good matchup, but just another Buccaneer that's in play here, if you will. Just obviously given the Mike Evans news. And then the big three in the backfield with the Buccaneers. that's a mess that like we all have to kind of decipher through. Derrick Henry, obviously, if you haven't right now, I said Saquon Barkley was my offensive MVP or my fantasy MVP earlier on in the year. Looks like that is quickly trending to Derrick Henry. Because obviously we know the we know the quarterback, like, you know, good or bad, is going to get all the love and all the hate. So obviously that puts Lamar Jackson in that situation. So yeah, man, like give me the over on this game right here. This fantasy bonanza that's going to happen, because there's absolutely going to be points scored in this game.
That's fair. It is what it is. King Henry, I believe his last, I think it was 84.5 where I saw him. I know his line went up.
Yeah.
Just double check your books. But I like his rushing prop, obviously. It's King Henry. In terms of how we, like, you know, see this game. But it's more about, like, I would say, I mean, I'm in agreement about taking the over for sure. It's just, excuse me, Monday nights can just be a little bit funky sometimes. Next game we got is the Cardinals and Chargers. If this thing will ever open up. Chargers getting 2 on the -2 on the road to Arizona. The over is 44.5. Chargers come in 3-2. Cardinals 2-4. Johnny, what are your thoughts on this game entirely? Can Kyler Murray have a bounce back spot this week at home? What do you say in terms of the Chargers and, you know, J.K. Dobbins consistently showing up? What are you saying to some of these storylines in general?
I think, man, this is like whichever team is going to be able to impose their will on the other team. I think obviously Arizona wants to play fast. The Chargers want to slow it down, right? So, like, for me, I think this is one of those games where if the if the Cardinals do get up, that obviously favors them just from a tempo side of things. But Justin Herbert, as a pure quarterback, has the ability to be able to sling it around the field for sure. I think we all know that. But, like, this is one of those situations for me where, like, I'm going to take the coach, the program, and what has been going on. So I'm going to take the Chargers in this game. And I do think that starting to come around on the J.K. Dobbins train, man, and starting to be like, all right, like, hey, man, it's time we start showing this guy some love for sure. We're almost halfway through the season, and, like, I would be remiss and an idiot if I sat here and was like, like I had 6 weeks to do that. So, like, I got to show the people that I'm not a moron. So, like, you know what I mean? So, like, I think, like, for me, like, it definitely is a situation where I look at it and say, all right, like, give me Harbaugh, give me the Chargers. And again, like, I kind of, you know, relate this again to drawing from past experiences from Harbaugh and him being in the college game and understanding an offense like Arizona's and how to play against that offense. So I definitely give him the nod on that right there. But it will be interesting to see on Monday night which Cardinals team shows up. As we've talked about in the past, they're another team just like the Cincinnati Bengals. They play up the competition and they play down the competition here. And so I think just give me something that's a little bit more consistent. Give me the Chargers. So I'll take them for sure.
Well, Marvin Harrison Jr. is expected to play now. After earlier in the week thoughts that he probably wasn't, but oh man, like, you know, just that sucks for me because I'm playing him a couple of weeks this week. Music's got a question. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbors. Good morning.
Who should I start in the halfway PPR? Tank Dell again, like he asked last week. Or Marvin tomorrow. Man. Can you take Dell today? It's just because more of a game where, you know, they'll need take Dell. Cardinals are need Marvin Harrison Jr., but this could be one of those questions that easily we come back on the Tuesday show. We're like, damn, Marvin Harrison. But I think take Dell is just a little bit safer play today. Just because Marvin Harrison Jr., we don't know what his workload is going to be like off the concussion. We have no idea what the Cardinals are going to look like even with him in the lineup. Like, the Cardinals just don't look like a consistent team to me. That's the only reason why I'm staying away. the only reason why, like, so someone's asked me about Murray and stuff like that too. Like, I think you have to start Murray, but because usually he has a dual threat role, so it's like he can still get there in multiple ways versus like, some other quarterbacks. But Marvin Harrison Jr., like, I like Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, he's getting thrown around my keeper league like it's nobody's business. Like, but I think Tank Dell is definitely the safer play today. Just because we think that Houston has to keep up through the air, and I think that's where Tank Dell can definitely thrive in.
I mean, it all the same things, man. Like I'm not gonna drag it. I'm very, very shocked at how in tune we are today. Like we're not even fighting at all about anything, which is like kind of scary to me. And I'm like trying to find a way to fight with you this morning, and I can't even find a way. That's how in tune we are this morning. But yeah, man. Like I'm with Nick, man. I just think Tank Dell's he's the safer play. Like I think like this is the role that he is more comfortable in. If you think about the situation for him, Nico was there last year. Well, he's here this year, but he's hurt. So Steph is now playing that role. Nico is now in the role that he traditionally should be in, which was very comfortable for CJ Stroud. So I do like Tank Dell a lot today, and I like him a lot more than Marvin Harrison. And as we were just sitting here talking about that Dynasty League thing, I was like, man, these rookie wide receivers and their concussions. The only difference between Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors is Malik Neighbors was out at the club popping bottles, and my man Marvin Harrison was on chill. Yeah. Shout out to Malik Neighbors, though, man. That's a dog.
Man, So yeah, I mean, based on matchups, like they're somewhat more closer too. Like, Dell gets Keyshawn Nix today, but Keyshawn Nix is more of a slot corner, so I think Tank Dell has an ability to definitely be throwing him deeper. Marvin Harrison gets Fulton, who Fulton's been decent as well. He hasn't surrendered a ton of receiving yards in 4 of the last 5 games. He's actually allowed he's only surrendered 1 touchdown in the last 4 or 5 games. So I'm just going to go with Tank Dell. I think I'm scoring more on the eye test than anything else, and also the increase in production. So that's where that's where we stand on that. And that being said, those are all the games. We're going to go through the props real quick, and then if there's no more questions, we're going to get out of here. So that being said, we are going to go to first the lock of the slate, though. We go over a pick or two in which we like in terms of DFS land, who we may like to lock into our lineups this week, that can really be productive, whether it be from a price perspective or overall, like, hey, like I think we need to play this guy because. So, Johnny, who is that? Who is that guy or two for your lineups that you really like to plug in to play this week, and you would like to have them in your lock as a lineup in like most of your lineups?
So I'll give it to you today. So I'm primarily playing on DraftKings today. Primarily playing on DraftKings. 2 top quarterbacks for me today on DraftKings are Anthony Richardson and Jordan Love. My 2 top running backs, ironically enough, are Joe Mixon and Deontay Foreman.
Oh boy.
Yeah, like
Deontay Foreman. I get it. No,
I mean he's the cheapest starting running back that's alive in America today.
Gonna play today, right?
If you buy into that, sure. I mean, who knows? It could go to hell in a handbasket. DeMarcus Robinson.
So never mind.
Yeah, DeMarcus Robinson, Jameis Williams, and Jordan Addison are all tied for me in ownership percentages. So those are my 3 highest owned wide receivers. Jadavion Sanders is my highest owned tight end. So obviously cheaper players for me is kind of like what I'm looking at today to be able to kind of mix and match to be able to get to some of these prime games that we were talking about, Atlanta, Seattle, specifically that game, Detroit, Minnesota. So just me kind of getting there in a different way and paying down in a few spots on DraftKings today.
Fair enough. As far as the lock slate goes for me, I had a couple. Make sure he plays, but Deontay Johnson has been a lock for me last couple of weeks. I'm not shying away now. The guy he's like, I believe he's 3rd in targets across the NFL. Look, 600 is definitely a bit too, a little steeper than normal than what Deontay Johnson's price would be. But given how he looks up with Dalton under center, like, he's only had like one bad game since he's been with Dalton. So that's a game where against Chicago he was in and out of the game.
Eddie Jackson.
Chicago defense shut down slot receivers. So Deontay Johnson comes to my mind. 600. He's a little bit steeper. If you want to be a little safer, play takedown, play Higgins, stuff like that. But I think Deontay Johnson has the opportunity to just get peppered, especially on a 4-point PPR. That's one guy I love. Another guy that's going a little under the radar, I think, in my opinion, in a game that's going to be high scoring is Addison. 5,600. Makes a ton of sense. If everybody's going to go Jefferson, I'd like to see what Addison has as well. Because it could be one of those games where I know Jefferson's always torched Detroit, but Addison's could be one of those games where he just pops off for 2 touchdowns like he did a couple weeks ago. And we're like, we knew it was Addison versus Richardson. Jefferson. So it's like, man, I don't know. And then I like what you said. I wouldn't say he's exactly a lock, but he's someone that if I need to save salary, he's someone I want to have, and that's Ja'Tavion Sanders, especially if Deontay Johnson's out. So it's somewhat of a pivot, if you want to call it that too. I got salary saver, 2,900, like on DraftKings. Like, again, that's a box of tissues. In terms of how you want to play that up, but as far as Richardson, I do like I wouldn't say he's my lock, but I definitely like him as well. Quarterback lock for me gets tricky. We'll go with Jalen Hurts, baby. I love it, bro. Like, my construction won't let me get there because of his price. But I love it, man. I love it. Jalen Hurts today because look,
might jam a couple more in here before I get up out of here tonight, man.
And if I'm wrong about it, feel free to scold me on Tuesday. But I expect the Eagles to win by 10 points, and it has to hurt throwing the football constantly.
The only way I'm going to scold you about that pick is if the Steelers lose, and then I'm going to scold you just out of sheer anger. So. Oh yeah, good point. Crosstown rivals. But like we said on the show earlier, golf is not getting any ownership. I think that's a mistake. Yeah. I think that what was Willie Neighbors' ownership when you last saw it? It was like it had crept up to 20. Right around, so I think that's where we're at now with him. It's like right around. I think I still want to stand on business on that guy. Yeah. I think his game is coming. It should be today. In terms of like matchups go, like I think I want to target Metcalf as well. In terms of he should have a matchup where he should go scorched earth. So should I know. That's what we always say about DFS. We should happen. But anyway. Take it with a grain of salt. Do your own research as well. So that being said, lock and slate. Going to the next prop shop once more time. 37-28 on the year. We are kicking ass the last couple of weeks in terms of the props. So gonna go over all of them right now. For all the people that have been loyally here, you guys get to the end of the show for sticking around. So without further ado, first one, Devontae Smith over 56.5 receiving yards. Like I said earlier. Third highest, the Giants allow third highest completion percentage receivers, and that's Devontae Smith in the slots here. Chuba Hubbard, 6.5. Chuba Hubbard, 6.5 rush yards. He's cleared this line every game. Dalton's been under center. I don't expect that to change in this matchup. Got Patty Mahomes over 241 passing yards. I think that the Niners get up in this game early. The Chiefs find a way to get back into the game, and they just start throwing. I like Kareem Hunt in the same game, 52.5 rush yards. Like, I know it's one of those situations where Kareem is. It's just the line's too low. 52.5 rush yards. I understand. I respect the Niners' defense. But 52.5 rush yards, a little too low for me in this matchup. And I also like Kelsey over 61.5 receiving yards. You could take this lineup higher if you want. He's hit 90 yards or more in 3 of the last 4 matchups he's played the Niners. Juju Smith-Schuster, because he's playing the new Rashee Rice role for him, should easily get some checkdowns, should easily get the yardage here as well. We got King Henry, 84.5 rush yards on Monday Night Football. Double check your books to find out if that line's been moving or not. I've taken it already at 82.5, but I've seen it creep up to 84, see up to 86 on other books. Just double check. But either way, it's King Henry, and he should have a very focal point of getting the football anyway, in terms of rush yards in general, because again, the Ravens lead the NFL
in rush yards per game to under 5 rush yards per game. Stephon Diggs, over 65.5 receiving yards. Packers allow a ton of usage to the slot, and that's where he should be playing as well today, both inside and outside in certain coverages. St. Brown, over 74.5 receiving yards. Also like J-Mo, but I didn't add him. I just think Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to get more targeted as well, especially coming off the bye week. What did I say? Sorry, not wrong team. Same matchup, wrong team. But Amon-Ra should be getting blanketed, should be getting usage when it comes to catching the football because the Vikings love blitzing, and Golf first read should be Amon-Ra St. Brown on some of these blitzing coverages. I also like Jahmyr Gibbs, 51.5 rush yards. I also like Demont, but I want to go Gibbs because he had a better value on books. I just think it's a 1-2 punch. You know what I'm saying? Like I think people
Sonic and Knuckles, baby.
I just think the perception is that everyone thinks that David Montgomery is the RB1, this, that, and third. He somewhat is, but people just forget about Gibbs, and I just think that he's going to have a solid game anyway. I also like his rushing and receiving prop as well, so feel free to take that as well, but I'm taking Gibbs. My contrarian pick of the week, Nick Chubb, 38.5 rush yards. I'm not expecting Nick Chubb to have like the world game beater right here in this spot, but 30.5 for a guy that we all know has the pedigree for Nick Chubb to what he is, that line's too low. Do we really expect Foreman to really take all these carries? I don't think so. I think Chubb can get 38, 40 yards at 8-9 touches. So that's where I stand on that. And then sprinkling in Saquon Barkley, over 101 rushing and receiving yards. Look, like revenge game spot. I've already called my shot with the Eagles today. You take it for what it is. I definitely like Barkley anytime touchdown as well. I didn't put that in. But let me put that in now. Anytime touchdown for Bark as well. Like we're gonna maybe we'll make a little parlay later. Who knows? But definitely like Bark as well. Anytime touchdown. And then last but not least, Devontae Adams. New team. Same homie. Anytime touchdown. Devontae Adams. And that's all there is to it when it comes to the prop shop this week. Looking forward to seeing you guys all throughout our inboxes, DMs, all over X, all over our shows. Because guess what? Our next show is Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. We have the waiver wire. We got your trade advice show. We got things that we talked about from this past NFL week's slate of games. And we always point you in the right direction on who to pick up. We had some great engagement last week. We look forward to having that again. And we love to answer you guys' questions, whether it be on our show or feel free to DM us on X or add us there as well. Like, we got you guys covered. Again, if you guys aren't following us, please do. If you guys haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, please do that as well. But with that being said, Johnny, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Renegade.
Ooh. Hey, that's my team, man.
Yeah, no, Renegade. This Renegade. Nah, man, I just looking forward, man, to the Vikings and Lions game, man. I think that's definitely going to be one of the better games, man, of the week for sure. Like, excited to see that one. Obviously, the Steelers and Jets, super pumped about that one, but I think like the Green Bay and Houston game, man, again, like that's another really good interconference game. Well, I say interconference, AFC and NFC game. So I'm pretty excited, man, just about this week of games. But be on the lookout for that low-key Atlanta-Seattle shootout game. Be on the lookout.
I agree. Definitely with that too. Metcalf, 6,800. He's not a lock, but make sure you get him in there. Yeah, go Jets. Jets, Jets. We'll see you guys on Tuesday. Have a phenomenal Sunday.